Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of CSIR-NEERI, I, Saveri, welcome you all to this significant event, National Technology Day 2022. May I request the dignitaries to light the lamp and then occupy the dais. I request Mr. Prakash Kumar sir to escort the dignitaries. Please, sir. Thank you all. On 11th May 1998, India demonstrated technological growth and sophistication of her scientific achievement in the realm of national security. That was indeed a defining moment in our country's history. We celebrate this day as a symbol of our quest for scientific inquiry and technological creativity, and the translation of that quest in the integration of science, society, and industry. National Technology Day is an occasion to recognize excellence in science and technology of our motherland. To celebrate and mark the National Technology Day 2022 at CSIR-NEERI, we have Dr. R. F. Sondesar, Professor, Department of Chemical Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, as the chief guest. We also have Sri Vinayak Marathe, sir, former Senior Vice President, Reliance Industries Limited, as the guest of honor. May I request Dr. Atul Vaidya, sir, Director, CSIR-NEERI, to welcome the chief guest and guest of honor with saplings.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Now may I request Dr. Atul Vaidya, sir, to deliver the welcome address.
Good afternoon to all. On behalf of CSIR-NEERI, I welcome you all for this National Technology Day celebration. And I think apart from our National Independence Day and Republic Day and CSR Foundation Day and Navy Foundation Day, these are the four basic things we follow. Apart from that, National Science Day and National Technology Day, these are the two very important days which we have to celebrate as a scientist or as an organization working in science. And therefore, we celebrate and I expect that all of us should really remember these days and learn from the things which are around us as far as science and technology is concerned. As you know, that this day is basically celebrated, I think on 11th May 1998, India actually again experimented on atom bomb explosion. Not only atomic bomb, but hydrogen bomb also was exploded. Means that indicated the capability of nation, you can say atomically capable nation or Anvik Sampanna Desh. That is the event which is now being celebrated as National Technology Day every year. I'm sorry to say that we celebrate the Technology Day, but we use this word technology very loosely. We say anything and everything as a technology, and we are into habit of that probably because of our assessment systems in CSIR or in NEERI or in scientific organizations. Technology, the basic thing for technology, as far as I think, of course, we have experts and I think they're past masters in their subjects. Technology, first thing, technology, you must know what you have. So you must start with a basic documentation of the technology. Unless you have document, you cannot have a technology. Remember, our first atomic explosion experiment was done in 1974. And after 24 years, 1998, in between there was no such experiments carried out. Had there not been a proper documentation of all the experiments, would it have been possible to explode the bomb experimentally in 1998? Absolutely impossible. you have to document what you are doing. So documentation, technology documentation, experimental documentation is must, and that without that you cannot go ahead. Secondly, technology, anything cannot be a technology. Technology has to have reproducibility, repeatability, and consistency. And above all, scalability. What I do in experiment in laboratory cannot be called as a technology. A good chemical engineer, even scale means a good chemical engineer. See, I have a technology to produce 60 million tons of, say, 16,000 tons of acid, sulfuric acid is well known thing nowadays. I don't claim myself to have technology to produce 100 million tons or 100,000 tons of sulfuric acid per day, unless I go for modular design. So scalability is the most important thing, and I must look for the scalability of that. So technology has to have repeatability, consistency, reproducibility, and scalability. And then a lot of iterations are required. Morning we were discussing biomimicry. It's very easy and it's a buzzword. Biomimic करते हैं. How many iterations? Don't know. Nature itself goes through a cycle of hundreds, thousands of iterations, and then certain systems are established in ecosystem. The biological system which I am having as a human being, it has been established after so many iterations. You read the evolution process. Even the bacteria, small bacteria, and the biological processes occurring inside the bacterial cell have gone through a lot of iterations in the evolution scheme. I do one experiment without iteration and I say I'm biomimicry. So these are the concepts which we have to come out of that. Otherwise, we'll be remaining at the same platform where we are. Second thing, because of things like Three Idiots and all those things which are going into the media, Jugaad technologies are not technologies, mind well. It is serving the purpose only 1 month. I cannot say the Jugaad technology. For example, in Three Idiots, most of us have seen that. Delivery with a vacuum pump cannot be propagated as a technology. You have glass systems for that. It was because of some engineers, person like Ranshu, which is said, he manages with the available things. That is a different issue. But it cannot be called a technology. So vacuum pumps and delivery nahi ho sakta hai as a technology. It is only an emergency measure, but you keep on saying, forget the basics of the technology. So that is what I wanted to say, and that's why I said that you must attend the lectures. We have two very eminent personalities in the technology development. Professor Solve is well known to us. Dr. Marathe, who was in Reliance, and he is good at, he has done a lot of work in TRL upgradation, so that is useful for me also. So I stop here. Message is that understand technology, don't get into the buzzwords, and try to develop good technologies and even review the technologies which we have today as needed. And we'll take help of the experts for that review. So with this, I stop here. I'll give the podium of the experts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We rarely get an opportunity to listen to the words of eminent personalities, and that too in the field of science and technology. We are fortunate that we have such a personality with us. I consider it a great honor to introduce the chief guest of today's event, Dr. R.R. Sonde, sir. He is a professor, Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Delhi, and former Executive Vice President, Research, Technology, Innovation at Thermax Limited, Pune. May I request the chief guest, Dr. R.R. Sonde, sir, to deliver the keynote lecture. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I think Atul is always ahead of us, so he said good afternoon, and then looked into my watch. Is it already 12:30? Then I realized that people who are ahead of the curve always will look for the future. So, hi, good morning. Okay, all right. So, happy Technology Day, and wish you a heartfelt greetings on this day. And for me, coming to NEERI is always, as I was sharing with your director, is a homecoming to me. I mean, so many of you I know. I was a member of the RC and used to visit so often, and therefore, when your director and Nitin sent me a message, though I was traveling all over. I was in Bangalore, I was in Ahmedabad, I was in Pune, and then I said, no, I will come for this particular meeting. So I always get really excited to come here and share a few words, whatever of my little experience that I've gained in 4.5 decades to all of you. So my request to all of you that I will maintain 35 minutes time that is given to me. Request your attention for next 35 minutes. I don't know whether there's going to be Q&A. I leave it to the organizers. If there's a Q&A, I'm ready to even answer that question and answer. Atul sir mentioned about this technology day and significance behind that. I was in Atomic Energy Commission when this particular event happened in 1998, May 11. And all of us in that great institution, and I actually represent every part of this particular Bhabha Atomic Research Center, were involved in this process, and we didn't know that we were involved in that particular project. We didn't know that what we are working was going into what exactly is the final product that we are developing. And I'm using all this terminology, having spent 15 years in the corporate sector, product, commercialization, and everything, and how to kind of valorize our technology. But that time, we are talking about the country's strategic sector, the security of this country, which is ultimately going to result in the prosperity and development, is so essential. I mean, you are seeing today, my dear friends, when Ukraine had the maximum number of nuclear warheads. Ukraine was one of the major nuclear power. 1988, they were supposed to sign a decree where the Western nations and the former Soviet Union agreed that the sovereignty of this country will be honored, provided they kind of neutralize all their nuclear weapons. And today, if Ukraine, I'm not getting into this political dialogue, but just trying to tell you how technologies can make the nation prosper is essential for any nation to become, as I said, a strong nation. And therefore, when Ukraine agreed under this, and today, when not any one nation is ready to kind of put its bet on Ukraine, probably they must be actually remembering that this whole aspect about dominance. It is not that nuclear weapons will be used as a means of oppression, but it is a great thing for countries' defense. Nobody will be able to look at this nation because of the strength of that 1998 May 11th event, my dear friends. And the way it happened, I mean, I was involved in that TTM development for my isotope separation, and there were people who were involved in developing many parts. There were about 800 of us who were working on that particular project, not knowing. And then when this happened, and then several things happened after that, gave a very clear indications how this became a turning point of country's strategic force, and that is where this country's thing was elevated to that level when 2007 we signed the nuclear agreement, when India was quarantined, or India was isolated from the global community, and then realized that no, India is a part of this advanced technology development. So I just thought, let me bring to you the importance of being on your self-reliance as well as technology skills. But today, my dear friends, I'm not going to talk about the countries. I'm talking about globe now as a what we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It's very important. And this particular problem, my dear friends, is bogging me. The very reason that I shifted from a very kind of a comfortable and a highly kind of a thing in a corporate sector, going back to the academics. If the one reason that I did it is to motivate the young students of that great institution on the challenge that is ahead of all of you, all of us, but we are on the fast now. I mean, what can I do? I mean, I feel I must be younger by 40 years. At the age of 65, I feel that there's very limited thing that I can do, but the only thing that I can do is to kind of interact with the younger students, younger faculty, in trying to understand or tell them what is sustainability. We talk about the sustainability word in a very loose manner, and it is true also. For every human being, sustainability is him and his family. And then he expands to his maybe immediate friends. Then it goes to a smaller community. So we cannot look this sustainability as is my family going to be sustainable for whatever years that I live in this particular planet. We never look at sustainability as a global sustainability. We never, I mean, our brain is also not wired to do that, my dear friends. We look at it in a very narrow window of what is sustainable. Industry, I mean, I have worked in a part of the industry. You ask industry, what is sustainability? They'll do quarter to quarter by quarter, where we can make profit and remain as a sustainable industry. Nobody looks beyond that boundary conditions. And today, the sustainability that we are talking about, we are at the tipping point that we are looking at the sustainability in a very different context. Because clearly, if we are going to be following this current trajectory of economics and development and GDP and life science, very clearly, the globe is now going to be diminishing. There is no more any kind of a carrying capacity this earth carries to manage this 7 billion people anymore. I mean, I can put a timeline, 44 years, we would have sucked everything that is there on this planet, and the human race is now at that tipping point. My dear friends, please don't take it as he has come and he's talking of doom and doom. I'm not talking that. I'm dangerously optimistic. But the way that things are happening in the globe, as far as the climate change, the global warming, the ecological disaster, and all that is happening, I find what is that? We are leading it to the next generation, which may not be able to come and live in this kind of a planet Earth. Clearly, my dear friends. And therefore, if we have to solve this problem of so-called sustainability and climate change, I'm using these two words separately because people interchange sustainability with climate change. No, these are two independent words. There may be a bit of an overlap between what is sustainable and what is climate change. And if you want to find a solution, first of all, we have to understand the program. I was talking to Atul sir in the morning. I said, Atul, what is that I'm going to communicate to this audience? For me, it may take about 6 hours to communicate everything that I have to communicate, and that I have to crunch it into 30 minutes. It's going to be an impossible task, which I'm not going to do. Even if it's only one slide, I'm done with that one slide, is okay, 30 minutes. There are so many things that I have to talk to you. But if I give you an essence of what it is that I want you to sit for a while, take a little back, and look at what is the problem that we're solving. What is this problem of climate change? What is this problem of sustainability? And how do we actually solve this problem? Can we solve it in NEERI? Can we solve it in a division in a NEERI? Can we solve it in IIT Delhi? My God, I mean, it is absolutely stupid to think that we can solve it because this requires a scale of collaboration humanity has never understood. I remember Manhattan Project. I told you to go to the story of Manhattan Project. It's a very exciting story when the 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 Nazi army was, going to create this fascism, and the democratic part of the, truly libertarian. So I love to talk about this. Was feeling the threatening of this whole thing by this particular fascism, and how the global community of scientists came together 4 years and created that little man and fat baby. These are the two names for the nuclear arsenal. That is where the whole thing changed. And from that onwards, at least till Ukraine, we had a relatively place of a peaceful existence, which many of us have benefited. If I look at from my 50s, 60s to now, I find that there's a huge benefit of this peace which is prevailing in this particular planet Earth, and that has allowed us to live in this. And younger people, like who post, the new millennials would have understood what technology has given you a comfort level. And that's very comfortable, my dear friends, is now coming back at us, because we are now asking, are we now consuming excessively to what we are doing? So let's begin with the genesis of this problem. Because solutions, if I tell, it will be too stupid of me and too arrogant in me to say that I've got a solution. Nobody can understand that we have got a solution. But let us understand this. Look at here. So you have seen this, that global hectares per average. That means there is a planet Earth which is supported by solar energy. Everything is solar energy. That is what sustains this Earth. And then you see that we have got a human ecoprint which has been done by a study which is 20.9 billion hectares, which comes to about 2.8 global hectares per capita. Global hectares per capita. And this is the way that we're sucking this resource for so-called development, economy, lifestyle, malls, super way of living, and the biocapacity of the earth. I've just simplified it. I just simplified it because I didn't want to get into individual indices which lead to this number. It's just about 1.6 global hectares per capita, which means that we are sucking the earth at 78% higher than its carrying capacity. Who better than me understands the carrying capacity? I know when Dr. Khanna was there and I used to interact, and there was a carrying capacity. I used to wonder how you isolate a part of a region and assume and calculate the carrying capacity. I think in your EIA, you continue to do that. What is the environmental carrying capacity? The global carrying capacity, we are overshooting by 73%. And in India, 16% population living on a 2% of the land mass, 16% population living on the 2% land mass is consuming almost at 118% because of the high population. So our human development index is somewhere hovering around 0.8, 0.9. It should have been ideally 1.1. I'm not going there on the HDI part or the SDG part of it. So which means that human enterprise grows by consuming, dissipating, and polluting the biophysics over its own existence. And that's now the nature is coming back at us. The empire strikes back. And we are at that cutting edge, that crossroads where the resilience, the fidelity of the nature is diminishing. Nature is not able to take anymore this assault from the humanity. Please get this point, my dear friends. You need to ponder over this point. This should be a discussion in every corridors of every scientific institution, according to me. If we don't think as the intellectual powerhouse of the country, nobody will be able to think about it. Neither the politician, nor the bureaucrats, nor the civil society, and nor the industries. Nobody will be able to think unless we impregnate this thought in us. And therefore, all these CO2 emissions are going unabated with all this global, I was a part of the leading when I was NTPC director on the board. I was leading these efforts, but nothing has stopped from CO2 emissions going high, and today it is at alarming 426 ppm. We are seeing the heat wave. You are seeing these extreme events. You are seeing the events which are growing at a pace where country like India and the population of our country is going to be impacted, and we don't even know how to adapt, leave alone how to mitigate this particular challenge. And none of these things, CO2 unlimited. We are at a tipping point. How many people are coming? I sit in Delhi. Sir, 140 level. I mean, Saturday I got a meeting. Go, carbon capture. So go, hydrogen. I said, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell them, sir, what can I do? You're giving 100 crores for doing a project, nothing. Up and I'm going to come to that. Money is not a problem, but we are not getting solutions. Sir, I was telling in the morning, small thing we say and we exaggerate and say that we are solving the problem. All of us are guilty of that. I'm guilty of that whole conscience that we are saying that we have got a solution which we don't have. So there is a huge problem of excessive consumption. I've said it, there's exponential growth, and this exponential growth has happened only because of fossils. Think for a moment. All this fossil use, everything, we say Keshav Pratikacha say, everything of development is rooted in these fossil fuels. All this excess consumption of oil which you have done in last 50 years, consume 50%. And you look at it, whether it's the population, whether the GDP, whether the foreign direct investment, if the water use, damming of the rivers, urban population, everything is happened in last 50 years. We have exploited 94% of the species have been eliminated by human beings. This excessive consumption, and it's all happening at an exponential rate. And unfortunately, we seem to be very complacent. We seem to be like a cat closing our eyes. Don't look up. I don't know how many of you have watched that film. Wonderful film. An asteroid is about to hit the Earth, and the entire society is oblivious, saying that somebody will find a problem, and somebody is using that event to increase his TRP rating. The president is using it for in US president. I mean, you must see that film of 187 minutes. It shakes you to the core. And therefore, this is all happening. And it will only increase to a point that we are now at an overshoot. So I never talk about the net zero. Net zero is not important. Net zero may happen somewhere because since 2070, 2050, abhi to kuch nahi hai na? And that is the problem. For 200 years, we have created this, and we feel we can solve it by 30 years. It's a pure bullshit. Sorry for using this unparliamentary word in such an honest guy. But I get angry. Because we cannot solve this problem, my dear. So this overshoot needs flattening. The immediate requirement in this decade is how do you bring down this overshoot? What technological intervention is required to bring this overshoot so that we are able to bring to the carrying capacity? Bring it to that. If today the world can absorb 27 gigatons of carbon dioxide, and we are emitting 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide, the target should be how do you manage these 13 gigatons or 13,000 million tons of carbon dioxide. That is most important. Otherwise, we are in a collapsing mode. As much as we have reasoned like this, and then for the younger generation, I can only say sorry to the younger generation because we in our generation have done nothing. I feel. In terms of developing technologies, in terms of managing the ecology, in terms of understanding how we can do this. So we started in 1850s to 1910 or 16 years of golden industrial renaissance, industrial revolution, which set the framework or foundation for this civilization to grow at the rate that we have grown from a mere 1 billion population to the current 7 billion population. It started on steam Rankine cycle and internal combustion engine. The great Henry Ford said when he developed this internal combustion engine car that you can buy any color of the car as long as it is black and white. That was the evidence of those people. They felt that this is the magic wand of solutions of mobility. Great work it was done. If you look at our development, the mobility has been the greatest game changer. But nobody thought that that very mobility system is going to impact the carbon emissions. And therefore, when you look at this whole way that the globe adopted to the technology, it was rooted in a very low efficient technologies, whether it is a steam turbine or whether it is internal combustion. Look at it from a second law of thermodynamics, which means that 70% of the energy was wasted into the atmosphere in case of the power generation, and here about 80% of the energy is wasted in the transport sector. In our times, 1 liter was giving about 3 kilometers. Now we have improved the efficiency, but still the efficiency is not more than 28 to 30%. And therefore, recklessly, we have consumed because we were very high on these two technologies. The whole globe adopted to these technologies. And that is where we realized that we adopted to a very poor efficient technology, low efficient technologies. Where the compressor, elimination, automobiles, furnaces, everything was developed because we wanted cheap products. Because efficiency is low. What does it mean? When the efficiency is low, then the cost is low. Why? Are you seeing that contradiction here? Because every nation underpriced the natural resources. Gold was available in US at a cost lesser than mud. Crude oil was available at less than $10. So when energy was subsidized by the government, every government, to ensure that you get energy at a lower cost, somebody else will pay for it. Who? The environment pays for it. The earth will pay for it. Because all these cheap technologies, which give abundant power, cheap power, reliable power, but a power which generates energy, which generates huge amount of carbon dioxide. Because you have to tell me when I have to stop. I thought my first part, and if I'd done that, I would say that this effort of what your director invited me is worth it. First, let us understand this problem and its magnitude. I have made maybe with my valor or with my I would say arrogance some goals, but it's not important. Those 5 goals is what I felt that I presented to many officers in Niti Aayog and many ministries, and I'm the chairman of the Royal Society, and so many places I'm presenting this. I thought, let me present this to my audience here in this. But the important thing at this stage is to understand. I recently have done this. This is available in the YouTube. Just about a week back with me and Pallab Bagra and Shekhar Kapoor. We have done this. This will come on NDTV also about making a decarbonized energy independent India. I would leave that link Atul with you so that maybe people can. It's very well capturing what I'm supposed to say. In fact, if you listen to that particular walk the talk, you will realize what I'm trying to say in this particular thing. So the CO2 problem, as I said, now if I come to the CO2 problem, is that today about 40,000 million tons. So get these numbers. I'm a number-centric person. You need to get this because then only you understand the problem that you are solving. If somebody says, I can absorb a gram of carbon dioxide, I said, you're on a gram scale and you have to go to million tons. So this 10 power 15 will not happen. So we must start at ton scale. Any experiment. If you want to solve this problem, otherwise don't solve the problem. Because the problem is solved by itself. By consuming us. And somebody asked me in the audience, sir, why are you so much worried? If humanity vanishes, what is? I agree. I said yes. I have no problem. If you feel that we are in an extinct position, every civilization has grown and gone down, is okay. But if you say that we have been honored with this intellect, and we have solved every problem, corona problem has been solved by us because it was here and now. But a problem which looks 20 years from now, so my human brain is not able to understand that 10 years. If you don't solve now, it becomes actually a short period of time. We don't even realize that. Everybody says, let us give to the next generation to solve this problem. Next generation will feel next, and that's how it has come to our level. And we are also now passing on this entire problem. So energy demand is going to increase. Renewable energy. Now everybody, that's where the problem is. Hydra, solar hydra, wind hydra. My dear friends, solar wind cannot be more than 20% to 25%. Anybody of you have done a lot of study, challenge me on this. I want that to be challenged. Tell me how 100% energy can be met by renewable energy. India, if I take every square meter of our country and put solar, let's assume that, it will still not be able to meet more than 25% of the energy. If I assume that India still is in a growing path and we need higher energy consumption. And therefore, to say and remain complacent that there's a solar energy, to do this will be a very foolish way of assuming that we can do. So therefore, the solution where for net zero pathway for energy material system becomes really challenging. Since not only energy is the materials. Today ammonia, today fertilizer. If I take, coming from a chemical engineering, Haber Bosch, two Nobel prizes. You all, Dandavat Namaskar to Haber and Bosch. And we feel that ammonia, which has made all of us survive from a famine to a excessive and people dying of obesity, is because of this ammonia as a fertilizer. And if I say that ammonia fertilizer generates about 6.5% of the carbon dioxide in the globe, we should shake. That means from 1910, the first Nobel Prize to Haber Bosch became a great thing. Today, if you say that you have to still go to 550 degrees centigrade and 100 bar, and not osmium, but an iron catalyst, I think that means we have not done no development. If the plants and legumes can convert nitrogen and water and give you ammonia fertilizer, are we still going to go through this particular process? We should actually, at least chemical sciences that I belong to should share me, and that's what I'm doing at it. So these are what challenges will come for India, because I have to now come back to what is that India can do, because India's energy is going to be increasing, and we should not be left in the lurch like Ukraine. So we need to, I think, our honorable Prime Minister's statement I really like and actually honor that energy independence is an essential thing for this country. We cannot be depending on energy from outside. How many of you agree to this statement? How many of you agree to this statement? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We can't expect as Saudi Arabia to generate solar energy and send us the solar energy. We need to develop everything in India. And if that is the case, and if you put all these things, you will realize that apart from the solar and wind and whatever is the little renewable energy, you need energy in the form of coal, because that's the energy which is available, which can sustain us for next 2 centuries, easily 2 centuries. You can listen to my YouTube video very clearly. Just a very recent one. I do keep giving this kind of videos. Being in Delhi, everybody asked many of these bites from me. Not great thing, but I just wanted to listen to that. So I will not go much. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Thank you. I don't know. He's taking some freedom to give me 10 minutes. No, Marathi Sahib has to give his so. Let me give you my 5 goals. I will not explain those goals in deeper detail because they are all very, very deep rooted in science. All these 5 goals. And believe me, my dear friends, I am like a obsessed fellow getting behind these 5 goals in my own way. And I would like to talk to your director. Whatever that I can do it to this institution has been very close to my heart from those days, and especially in the recent past when I was your member of the research council. I've been always admiring NEERI for its resilience to adopt to the new solutions, and we can examine what is that we can put it, but not to be solved only within the perimeters of this particular thing, but a super goal. Because I don't want to get that feeling, oh, Dr. Sonia was talking only on independence and development goal, but I still remain that we need to be looking at all this solar energy, wind, other renewable energy, storage, fuel cells. These are all very important. But I don't want to believe that these will only solve the problem of India. This will solve a part of the problem. A decarbonized problem is solved by this, but I don't want, and I want to underline this. I want to underline this, that this will not solve the entire problem. And therefore, don't be able to complacent that you, but the fact that we need to work on this is extreme. So in IT Delhi, I'm working on all these technologies with different set of people. That's not my area of work. These are all coming in solid state physics. And this is a great work which is happening. Anyone of you into that field? I was talking to Nitin some time back that we need to look at some of these new energy technology. It requires a very, very enlightened mind to look at this. I mean, look at these new materials, my dear. I mean, perovskites, organic and inorganic halides. The kind of wonder today, we used to be worried, like the second of thermodynamics, the chocolate freezer SQ effect. They don't know which percentage does नहीं मिलेगा photovoltaics. Maximum theoretical limit, like a Carnot engine, was considered as 30%. And I used to ask this question. I was sort of interested in discussing with MS Anand, the former director of IT Madras. I mean, we are very close. Comes to studying thermodynamics. And I asked why this solid state physics does not obey the second of thermodynamics. And we realized, and we wrote an article about how this second of thermodynamics on this chocolate freezer event is applicable in terms of the second of thermodynamics of Carnot engine. Anyway, I'm not going there because that itself is a topic. But today, the way that you are able to get 40%, not with the gallium arsenide, not with the class 3, class 5 semiconductors, but with this particular perovskite with 6 or perovskite with amorphous silicon will tell you that there's a huge work. So I was telling Nitin in the morning that if you put 170 kilowatts, get that 170 kilowatts to generate 500 kilowatts by these new technologies. So I'm just saying before I jump to my favorite topic, the goal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a previous goal that we have to examine this, and I'm sure the world is working on this. Just last Friday, we are signed with Renew Power. You know Renew Power. Suman Sinha is an alumna of my institution on new way of battery technology. Exciting developments, but they are not at watt scale. They are going directly to megawatt hour scale, sodium sulfur batteries. So these are all exciting things that are happening, and working on it. Goal 1, quickly I will go to this, my dear friends. So pardon me if I'm going to be now super fast speed in completing this. Reinventing coal using a clean coal pathway. Okay, that's very clear. So as I mentioned, we have to abandon. Don't abandon coal. You know, the Ukraine has made coal cost has gone from $70 to $400. Coal is king now. Just about a year back, people were shunning. No coal, no coal, no coal. But coal is back. Is the carbonation problem solved? No. Because we have not solved that problem. And if you want to solve the problem, by remaining in coal, you come to this pathway, coal to hydrogen. That is the pathway. And this pathway is not at the scale that you're doing it. We have to do it in terms of million tons of the coal. Today, India consumes about 980 million tons of the coal in a combustion pathway, and the theme of our Honorable Prime Minister is at least to do 100 million tons in this decade, just 8 years. Ambition decades, I mean, he's always like that. He puts the ambition much higher so that ordinary water beings at least will try to reach some part of that ambition. And I agree with him. I said, why not 100 million tons? 200 million tons, we should be able to do it. And if we are able to do that, our carbon dioxide emission will just come down to 50% by this new methodology. And that is what is required. Again, I'm not doing it. So we have now worked on this coal gasification. So abandon the coal combustion, go to the coal gasification. Coal gasification efficiency is how much? 92%. And because of that high efficiency, your carbon emissions are not following the second law of thermodynamics. So you go back to your fundamentals. Look at how the history of science has developed. What were the causes for doing that? And abandon it. It's not that easy, my dear friends. A society which has adopted a certain way of doing it, to change that is not a purview for you and me. It's a whole society has to understand that these new pathways we need to adopt. Recently, I mean, that's what I was in Pune. We commissioned this, one of the biggest plants in the country of using India's highest coal. I wish I could come on a separate occasion and talk to you about it. So we have done this. You can see Saraswat, honorable member, and I'm a distinguished fellow of India. And we are now working. Clearly, I mean, another crazy fellow like me is Dr. Saraswat, and we are working on this particular thing. This is a methanol plant, this is a gasifier. They are huge plants. 60 crores were funded by DST, and now they want to fund about 1,000 crores. And that's a small money to manage this particular thing. So I'm just getting into this. So coal to biomass, that's a global one. Goal two is coal to hydrogen. So we're talking about hydrogen. We are talking about hydrogen as a green hydrogen. I'm pleading with the policymakers, don't color hydrogen right now. We need hydrogen. Don't color it as green, blue. So we are talking about hydrogen economy, huge hydrogen value chain. Ammonia for hydrogen. Plastic, petrochemicals, the refineries, our Maradhe Sapka, all the refineries will use plenty of hydrogen. They are using through a petcoke. We can use coke, but you have to take care of all these things. So again, I'm jumping on all these things. So that the goal two, you remember goal one, goal two? Goal one is the gasification, goal two is hydrogen, goal three is important. This is where there's a huge challenge, and I was working with Rajesh, and where is Amit? I'm not saying he's on floor. And I'm sure that I would like to invite, not as only NEERI, but NEERI can head it as a carbon capture utilization. So unless you take care of the carbon dioxide, even with the gasification, you will have residual. It can manage the overshoot gasification, but then you want to go first, you try the overshoot with gasification, and then go, sorry, then go to carbon capture. So there were sometimes earlier, we want a gasification to include a carbon capture. I said, no, I will develop a gasification, make it compatible to carbon capture. And in a phase two, that's what I'm doing now. That's where the government is funding a separate big project on carbon capture. And I mean, many of you understand why carbon capture is easier in a gasification than the combustion process. So there are many technologies that are there. Fourth, what do you do with that carbon capture? What do we do with that? 40 gigatons for the country. India is about 3,800 million tons. All that 3,800 million tons cannot be converted to chemicals and aggregates and fertilizers. Please, don't make that illusion. And therefore, you need to conversion pathway. Lot of things are required. And CCS equation. Can we do it at Amit? So this is my dream project. I'll leave on this project. So I heard some of you are working on this in the material science field. Sadhana, you must be working on this, and I want to have a separate discussion on the project that you are proposing. So it requires a huge amount of challenges. Paradigm shift, my friend. Paradigm shift. We have been all the time, the catalyst people, I'm a part of that, are working on the scaling relationship. I wish I have time to talk to you about this scaling relationship. We are moving up and down from a rhodium, palladium to copper and silver as the way to solve this energy consumption in ammonia, carbon dioxide, or synthesis gas. Am I communicating? This is wrong. This is not the way of doing it. We need to look at it where your CO dangling bond and the COH bonds are at the, and that's within this range and not on the scaling relationship. And there lies a huge change to the way the catalyst is looked at it. You cannot look at it in the conventional. Unfortunately, 98%, including in my own IIT, we have been looking at in this manner and saying I've got a 2% increase consumption, I can reduce the temperature by a couple of degrees. Doesn't work. Put zirconium, put gallium, put nickel. No. We need to abandon that. You have to look at this doped graphene. If graphene is developed this molybdenum disulfide, I mean, there is this. I mean, our Saurav Park, formerly with your NCL, I'm working with him on working on a new ligand on a molybdenum disulfide. And I was amazed at the way that they've done that. They're coming, sir, we have done this, but now you chemical engineers come over and tell me how we can design a heterogeneous phase reaction to this. Now, sorry, this is not the time to get into this, but that's my favorite kind of a thing, carbon capture by electrolysis. And fifth is hydrogen-based fuel cells. Fuel cell is my another favorite subject. Showing that, Republic Day parade this time showed what I developed when I was in Thermax and Navy. We developed this 320 kilowatt. India is the third nation to develop an air-inner propulsion based on the hydrogen-based fuel cells. We are very proud of this. Very proud. A high-level technology using this we have developed, and we are working on multi-physics of interplay between electrochemistry. And so, first goal is renewable. 5 goals, and the super goal is there a huge amount of many deep tech R&Ds, which I'm sure some of you are working. My only request is that you need to scale it up. As very well said by Atul, respect what is said. We don't need this TRL level fragmentation and feeling our comfort that मैंने तो TRL 1 किया, मेरा काम हो गया. No, that's no use. You got to take it to all the way. If I come solar to hydrogen, don't tell me quantum efficiency is 0.3% and our maintenance is 0.4%. That will please me nothing. Today, solar photovoltaic is going to be 40%, and the electricity can give me 90% on the enhanced membranes, which would mean I can get solar to hydrogen from a photovoltaic to this one at 35%. If I don't get 35% from solar to hydrogen directly, don't go for it. Can it be done? Yes, for sure it can be done. So we need to look at it. Don't jump from here to here incrementally and be happy with that. Because it is going to dissipate. You will get money. Money will come. Enough. There's no problem. But it will be the level, that level. It will go nowhere. And therefore, solar to hydrogen, CO2 fuels, there are a number of them. Let's look at it. But do it only when you understand the problem that you're solving. If you're looking not at this problem, you will land up somewhere else and you are still not solving the problem. You have generated more CO2 in trying to solve the problem. Like Einstein said very well, that if you are using the tools which created the problem, you are not going to solve the problem. If you are using the tools which created the problem, you are not solving the problem. Understand the principle behind this. So concluding science, humans are natural discounters, my dear. That's the problem with our. We discount because अभी नहीं हो रहा था. 10 साल के बाद में 20 साल के देखेंगे. This is the lethargic and that is what is killing us. And self-diligence won't so far choose option 1, business as usual by alternate means. So all that we're doing is we remain in business as usual and we assume that alternate means it can't be business as usual. Unless each one of us and to us communicate that the way that we have looked at our lifestyle, if we are ready to abandon, then only it will happen. Earth is calling us, we are stupid. We are abandoning inconvenient truth to a reassuring life. All of us are, Vidya, I am knows. IPCCs, at least I would like to, because April they have presented this and they have given some solutions. Please go through this particular solution, very well said that I presented to a Royal Society of Chemistry. So one line message, my dear friends, need of the hour and we scientists coming together and collaborate to solve the big problems at an unprecedented speed. Speed is essential. Otherwise, we don't solve the problem. There's no need. It'll extend as I said. We owe it to the future generation to come and do this. So, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Paschantu, Ma Kashit Dukha Dukha. This is what we should do. As our Prime Minister said, if you want to remain as a Vishwaguru, we can't be following what West has done. We need to be developing all these technological platforms, and then only we can do it. Thank you very much, and sorry for taking this time.
So thanks for your enlightening talk. The next eminent personality is our guest of honor, Shri Vinayak Marathe sir. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce him. Shri Marathe is a chemical engineer. He has more than 34 years of experience in petrochemical industry, 7 years in Nirlon synthetic fiber, and 27 years in Reliance Industries Limited. He also has hands-on experience in polyester and expertise in paraxylene technology. Sri Marathe has held various positions during his career, such as Senior Vice President at Reliance Industries Limited, Freelance Consultant for Operation and Maintenance Excellence, Biofuels HSC Movement. He is Business Head, India Business Head, and advisor to Phillips Townsend Associate Incorporated, Houston, USA. Advisor to L&T, advisor to the Board of Asset Lux Luxembourg-based startup. He has experience in operation, factory management, and large green and brownfield projects, from technology selection to commissioning, evaluation, customization, and implementation of world-class safety and operation risk management systems. He commissioned and operated large polyester plants, parasite. At the hands of Honorable Union Minister Sri Nitin Gadkari. May I request the guest of honor, Sri Vinayak Marathe sir, to deliver the invited lecture.
So thank you for that long introduction, and very good afternoon to all of you. It's my privilege to be here on the occasion of National Technology Day, and thank you, Giri, for giving me this opportunity. Dr. Sonde has already energized the entire audience. I don't know how I'm going to maintain that energy now. But my topic is a bit different, although I like whatever Dr. Sende said, and I've done a lot of work on the biofuel, especially algae to oil, starting from seawater, and the largest pilot plant in the world, which is operating at Jamnagar. So I had a privilege of commissioning the entire facility, which makes around half a barrel of crude oil starting from seawater and consuming the CO2 from the refinery. So as far as the end-to-end process, proof of concept, reaction kinetics, and most of those things have been proven. But our challenge remains how do you extract more energy from the sun?
and improve the photosynthetic efficiency, and that is where the entire economics become the vulnerable. But the last commitment on that was to spend almost more than $200 million, and something or other is still going on. Unfortunately, the genetically modified algae was developed in the lab and which has given very encouraging results. But it's a challenge to use anything GM in the open atmosphere in India. And when we talk about all these five solutions, which Dr. Sole said is another one, which is from the algae part, which can straight away take the CO2 which is emitted to the nearby sources and convert that into the algae and algae to the crude oil. And the hydrothermal liquefaction process which we developed, the process can convert any waste into a crude oil. And when I was with Mr. Gadkari that time, I wanted to have a bamboo to ethanol and so many other projects. I said, we take everything and build the culture of innovation and how you systematically deliver the project with the culture, vision, and objectives. So I'm talking a little more about that. And as you rightly said, we are at the tipping point. I thought I had seen him somewhere, but I'm not remembering it. I was about to talk to him, then some lady came and said, why you are sitting in the back, why don't you come in the front? He was asking. Said, your fire chat, which you are planning, is immediately after that. I said, no, I'm very comfortable here, let me visit here. So then I got an opportunity to have a chat with him. He was none other than Mr. Vijay Rahman, very humble personality, he was sitting at the back. And then I was talking to him about it's a dawn of the 20th century, and we said that humanity was facing a problem. And today, if you talk about 50 years from now or 70 years from now, so many research reports keep on coming on. It is Earth is going to be not the same. And if that is the case, then this is a situation where that kind of passion is required. And that is where we always used to say that what kind of people you need attending. You need people with passion. Everything else can be learned, everything else can be taught. And that is what typically demonstrated from this. And again, this is a second example where, when because I came from manufacturing and managing the R&D, and the scientists used to tell me, hey, nothing happens tomorrow or here. You take 1 year, 2 years. I said, someday it has to happen. Either because you have to conclude, either you have to squeeze that project or you have to continue that project. And what is that time? So at least you fix that limit for you. You say, based on whatever you have done, maybe from 5 years from now or 7 years from now, I'll be here. And then when example will say, there was nothing. The average time spent by American was not more than 15 minutes in the space. And John F. Kennedy says, by the end of this decade, can we land a man on the moon? And then what happened, what all happened in NASA after that is a history. But on 28 July 1969, just before the end of the decade, the man landed in the moon. So that was the R&D which was driven with the vision, it was driven with the strategy, it was driven with the objective. So when we, any project or any theme which you are working with, it has to be driven with the vision and the objective. And then this is the, and that was all the challenges which are required to fix. And in Reliance, Mali used to always say that there is a performance challenge. Even the ordinary people do the extraordinary job. And that's why, so that's why I say that what is the unprecedented growth of Reliance? It is only based on one thing, which is performance challenges. There was not, I worked for 34 years in Reliance, there was not a single year when there was no challenge. Because the company was always in the growth mode, company was always in the project mode. And once you adopt the technology, how do you squeeze that technology and innovate that technology to the level which even licensed have not ever done before? So that used to be always a challenge. And look at growth. Growth is a combination of vision and attitude, and that all is applicable to it. I used to give the example, whatever
field Reliance entered. When it started with polyester, it created disruption. The polyester was the most expensive fabric in my childhood. It was a symbol of status having a one polyester shirt. And today, polyester is the cheapest fabric available in the world today. And that disruption in India, where the poorest man could afford the polyester, was the Reliance. Same thing happened with the polymer, same thing happened with the refining, same thing happened with the this network of mobile phone which 50 paisa call, which again introduced. So where was the enter they created a disruption. You know, a company like North Life, with that example where top 10 in rank from IIT used to be interviewed by North. When they will go for a campus, they will interview only the top 10 rankers from the IITs. And over a period of time, starting from their GET to their CEO, they all were from the top 10 rankers of the IITs. So that the kind of intellectual property, the kind of intellectual ability which was available in the North was huge. But what happened to that? When the Reliance entered into the polymer business, started the polymer plant in Atira and further went for expanding. So by the time the first tractor was commissioned in 1997, in next 2 years, the North started becoming sick. And by 2002, the whole entire company was acquired. A large number of people from the North to become part of the Reliance. And that is time we used to say that the North had the best talent available in the country. But there was probably not a vision and a passion. So they were having all the ideas. Reliance may not be having all the ideas, but they had a vision like Ambani and the leaders like Ambani who did the things. And that means that even the ordinary people deliver the extraordinary job. And that passion, if it is there with the vision and the culture in the R&D, it is not you require extremely high talented people. They are always desirable. But everybody with the passion can deliver. And the ideas don't happen in 9 to 5 job. You know, the ultimately you get the idea while you are in bathroom, ideas where you are driving, ideas you are doing something. But when that happens, when you are passionate about what you are doing, you are just thinking about it, what you are doing. I was to conduct a workshop with the Sinopec company yesterday morning. It was from 6 to 4, around 10, 4 hours workshop. I was supposed to do with them on aromatics because they are having a very bad performance of aromatics. So there's some benefit targeting study that kind of thing I was doing. And I was worried about how, because that's a company which is bigger than Reliance. They've got not many expats working on the company. So there are not very talented people who are working than me, and how am I going to advise them? And that was completely out of mind when I started from Bombay day before yesterday. And then I forgot my mobile phone on the kiosk. And then after 20 minutes, luckily it was still there when I went to there. And while security check-in, I forgot my pouch to keep it in the back. And it's still now, I called the lost and found and they said it's available now. Tomorrow when I go to Bombay and pick up that. I have my charger, I have my watch and everything in that. So that because you're just engrossed with something. And then all these things are missing. So that is the passion when you build and that kind of a culture when you develop, every scientific organization can do the wonders. Every scientific they have because talent is already existing. That only requires to be sharpened. And that only can happen with the culture and the passion. Talked about only talked about what all are the challenges of the tomorrow. We call it a VUCA world. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So we really do not know whether hydrogen will take over tomorrow, whether electric vehicle will take over tomorrow, whether all the refineries will be shut down in the country, where there will be no fossil fuels coming out of the Middle East. None of those things can be known today. There are predictions on those are happening, and in this VUCA world, the investments are coming with the cautious, or the spending happening with the cautious, because the situation which is going to be very, very ambiguous. And the project which R&D is going to drive in this area, which have to be aligned to many of these activities which are happening in the world. We also talk about the fossil fuel. There is a challenge of the plastic which is happening, a medium term of plastic which is not known where it is going. The plastic recycler and there are all the various challenges which are going to rule the developments which are going to happen in various part of the country. talk about the circular economy again. Circular economy is to say that it is in the plastic, also it is in the fuel, that whatever fuel you use it, that everything has to be recycled back. And as you rightly said, nobody knows today. Nobody knows we talk about the green hydrogen. Now we got 1.5 million tons of grey hydrogen, the surplus in the complex. Now then what I do about it? So that's a grey hydrogen, can it be used for all my downstream activities which are anyway going to be required for green hydrogen? So let's start that kind of development. But that everything is today is a ambiguous. And I think she mentioned about the conference in, there was a parallel conference going on to World Economic Forum in Davos in 2020. And I was sent by FITI to speak at this conference. I was talking on, talk about some sustainability and more on the biofuel kind of activity which is doing. And somebody from the audience, they said, hey, you are the third largest emitter of CO2 in the world. What do you know about it? I said, yeah, I'm third largest emitter, that's true, but I am 158 emitter of CO2 as far as the per capita CO2 emission is concerned. Then I said, but the glaciers don't understand that. Glaciers don't know whether you are 158 or they only know the amount of CO2 which you are generating. And so that's it. And then when this happened, as we said, some 200 years back, these things were happening. When the industrialization was happening in the Western countries, when their lifestyle was improving, nobody had questioned them how you are emitting the carbon. Today, what the entire European Union says that even if we become entirely net zero, it's going to have an impact of only 0.5 degree on the climate. So we are not so if it has to be 1.5 degree, which is a COP21 26 goal, then you have to fall in line. Now at the same time, maybe I may slightly differ, but as I said in that conference, do I have a right to give a good lifestyle to the people of my country? And if that is to happen, then I need to go for industrialization. I need to go for a development. And I can't wait all the solutions to be developed for my development. By the time my country will become further poor. Now my challenge is, while I have to do the development, at the same time I have to manage all these mega trends which are happening. And it is a balancing act, and for which the technological development will have to be on the fast growth, because in any case, the development cannot wait for the solutions to be developed. That's going to happen, because if today, if you get per capita income, it is just 8% of the developed countries in India. It is 40% of the global average. And we just started doing something better, and some kind of challenges which are going to come to us. So that balancing between the development and the technology, which is going to be a challenge, the development will certainly not going to stop. Otherwise, we become further poor, and then it's like the Western countries saying us, you guys, you look poor, pretty good, you continue like that. You can't allow you to generate more CO2. You move all your manufacturing. Today you go to United States, and every single atom you try to go and buy, it is made in China. When I was in Korea last year and I was buying Thai, and we were trying to see made in China, they said, don't look, everything is China. So don't look there. Now you move all the manufacturing to China. We said we want to bring all the manufacturing to India. And then the guy said, we'll be net zero, and you also have to be net zero. I fulfill your needs, daily needs for everything. And then you want me to be net zero. So that's going to be a much bigger challenge, because and today we all talk about a large number of I'm still working with an NT, and they got a new energy cell. I just ask one question in one video: who is earning and who is paying today? Reliance is on shopping, another Adani is in shopping, they are acquiring industry, LNT is doing collaboration. And who is earning? We are spending the money, and some all Western people who are giving me the technologies they are earning today. So this has become another big business for those people, because I am not still matching the kind of a development which I am supposed to. And that is a big challenge for the entire CSIR and entire technological community of the India, where can you lead the way in this renewable sector? Can you sell your technology on the money? And I see from this slide, which If you look at the United States, what is the data balance of the payment among Japan? And when it comes to India, you have your negative in the balance of the payment. How much is just $511 billion, the $321 billion in what you're buying is more. China is also bad, but China is in the business of investing in the technology and imitating it on very fast. So they do not care how much they are selling outside. But they just because the green graph is much larger for China on that. But this under this situation where and this is the opportunity for us because in all other areas probably we already lag behind and catching up in that area maybe at least in many other areas is going to be a challenge, but these are the areas where world is coming up, world is developing, they're trying to achieve something, and that is where can we change this graph where whether that negative can become a positive for us. That's the challenge. That's the IP monetization for content. It's very difficult. We talk about the innovation performance network. I think I'll not spend much time on that because the innovation performance network once again is a culture of innovation. I give the example of Reliance when I joined, I left the loan and joined Reliance in the polyester plant. I think everything is different here. Nobody has gone for continuous polymerization process. Reliance has gone for it. In those days, everybody was dependent on the heat power, and I said no. So many things which have changed into that operating model of the polyester technology in that area. And that's the reason in just 5-6 years of the commission of the plant, all of the polyester plant in the country you can see. So that and then that continues. So now when you grow up in this culture, then you know that yes, there's something different you do. When I was asking people in my workshop on leadership behavior, said, when do you enjoy your job most? And nobody, maybe at least 300 leaders I might have trained for, but nobody has ever said when I was able to go home at 5 o'clock, I had nice bonus, I had a nice increment, I had a good time for family. Everybody said when I was not having a time for anything, I was just buried in work. And that is the time I enjoyed my job. So that is the kind of a passion which gets created. Then entire innovation culture and everything will fall in line with it. Another important part which I always talk about when we're doing the project review of BD, the portfolio. You have the right people on the right job. Many times you ask the dogs to fly and birds to run and both will fail. So that portfolio management is very critical because sometimes the need for the organization or the objective which have been put, and if you don't have the right talent, you say no, but this is available. Put him on that job. Now that guy, you're not using his potential, you're putting on a job which is certainly he's not ready for that. And then both are going to fail. And if the project will work, not a person will work. And now we expect that person to be inspired and motivated. Not going to happen. From there, the person tries to do a job which he or she likes. How that action will happen. And that is where the portfolio management, the resource allocation, that becomes very, very important. If you don't have an ability of doing that things, please don't take it. Just don't say I've got 10 PhDs and I can take any project. That's not the way it is going to happen. So there are two things: one is the innovation strategy, portfolio management, and in the stage gate process, we talked about the DRL and all that level. But one thing I just want to tell about the stage gate process is if there is a team, so if there is an R&D project, then if it requires to be commercialized, it starts from the laboratory, then it has to go for a pilot level, then it has to go for a scale-up level, and you require a different kind of skills at different level. And when the team is formed, unfortunately, the ownership of the project never changes. If there is a scientist who is owning the project on the table, he continues to do that. But now when it comes to a scale-up, there is a process engineer who has to take up that project. And he has to drive that project equal passionately with that kind of approach. And that precisely when we follow about the stage gate process. Now we say at stage gate level, when the stage gate review, we say what is the level of project, who is going to have a much more contribution in that project to happen. And that is where the need has to come. The stage gate is therefore sometimes 4, sometimes 5, depending upon what kind of a product development is happening. But in that project, the diverse view and the diverse skills which are introduced in this. If I'm saying I'm moving at a pilot level, if my chemist doesn't understand reaction kinetics, my chemical engineer has to take over there. He has to understand the reaction kinetics, he has to understand the energy and mass balance of that project, and it just doesn't remain a support service. That's the ownership that we got. And that is precisely what we try to do in our state gate methodology, and that has really helped where we say my project ownership is changing at some point. When it comes to a level of investing your money, my finance guy comes into a picture, he goes for all kinds of economic evaluation which is required to be done. And then it has to be aligned with the strategy, and that also comes at stake. I remember we developed a technology which is fluorinated polyvinyl chloride, which nobody makes in India. It's 100% imported from China. We convert that into the pipe. And because the technology doesn't exist in India. So R&D tried to develop that technology and then want to have, in terms of DRI level, where DRI 7 make pilot plant has been put and material balance, energy balance, selection balance, everything has been done. And when it goes to the review of the topmost management, and they say, hey, what's the potential of business from this? And the marketing guy says, yes, it can generate a revenue of 500, 600 crores. He said, anything less than 1,000 crores, I'm not interested. I do not want to invest any money if it's going to be a revenue less than 1,000 crores. So it doesn't fit into organizational strategy and just wait on spending the money for so much of time, the man hours and the people and the scientists. But why not that strategy coming through here? That was the thought analysis of kind of thing we talk about. It has to happen at that stage level, whereas I evaluate the project risk, I evaluate the market risk, I evaluate the organization strategy, whether it's going to fit into that. And then we need all people to be trained for the inventive problem solving is something like doing the things which you don't know how to do. Now, that's the difference between when I moved from manufacturing to productivity. And what I realized is in the manufacturing or the project or the technology services, that you are doing the things which you know how to do. When it comes to R&D, you are doing the things which you do not know how to do. And that is where the brain inertia is required. There are not many contradictions can happen, like many of the things we develop may give one benefit which one another. We develop some chemical, we say it's a terribly hazardous chemical, we cannot do. So those kind of contradictions which happen. And that inventive problem solving, there are many ways of training the people where we should follow particular methodology for solving the problem. And they're the unknown problem. You do not know the solution, you do not know what is going to happen, but there are specific different methodology where we provide the training. And normally I say if you read the last line, biggest gap between the objective and achievement is always a competency. So this is we talk a lot about it, and there's every organization with, as you rightly said, that NASA started something for them, and then people adopted methodology to their convenience. But if you adopt to their convenience, but then if you are able to define, and this documentation gets reviewed at the state level. Just to give you an example, if I'm at TRS level 3, we developed a document for each TRS level, what kind of proof of concept has been done. It's what? Now we say I want the money to spend for a pilot plant. Then you go for a proposal and ask for some money, but for a proof of concept, we have all this information available. We have economics which can be done to the level of minus 30% plus 20% kind of level, which can be possible to be done at the level. And if this much information is not generated, remain there. Don't scale up the project and then fail after spending only 9 hours and go to much of. And that this is not hard and fast for every organization, but customize to your organization requirement, customize to your vision objective, that definitions of the TRL level can be defined. Say, and then that review of the project at that level, and that is where you take the decision, what resources are required, what additional competencies are required, or altogether the project should be done or not. So it should be built, it's not going to work for me, and then it's a fast developing world where it took 75 years for a telephone to reach 50 million people. They say it took 46 years for electricity to reach 50 million people. But now in the today's world, the Pokemon Go, it took 19 days to reach to 50 million people. Facebook, it took just less than 4 years to reach 50 million people. So that's the pace of the technology which is happening. So if you sit around one project for a very long time, you will find somebody else has done much better than you. And by the time you realize you have achieved something, that will not be a feasible, viable, or marketable kind of technology. And that is where this is also part of the AGM process where you do the risk assessment of the risk is related to your strategy, risk is related to available competency, risk is related to all kind of environmental or safety issues which are going to come, risk is related to the commercialization and the scale of capabilities which you have. So all those things get addressed, and this is a measurable number of the risk which normally get addressed. So I will stop here and say that this is when R&D is not a passing a baton. Say that that's what inside used to happen. The lab guys say, "Oh, give me say my job is done. It has been passed on to somebody who can do the scale." Now it is detached completely from that. So it is not a passing a baton. It is a lead end-to-end ownership. So that the team which is formed is going to commercialize that technology. The team has to continue from beginning to end-to-end ownership. And there is a change of a mindset, which is, it's a shape of earth. Even if there is no fence, they will only go by one route because their mind is accordingly accustomed to doing that. So you can't see even everything else is open and I can go around with that. So that's a, we have to get out of that, about thinking out of box or thinking something different and going against the clock. That's again the challenges which are required for me. And this is some of the definitions of the innovation, and only thing what I said is what all is right because they know what they're saying and that's what I'm going to say. Okay. And thank you for that. And it's science for solution, technology, and for transformation and innovation. This is everything. We will not be having a science everywhere. We certainly have lots of innovation which is required in the VUCA world which we are giving. So thank you very much once again for giving me the opportunity.
So thank you for your thoughtful speech. Now it's time to honor the chief guest and guest of honor. May I request Dr. Atul Vaidya sir to honor the chief guest and guest of honor by presenting a moment.
Lovely. Thank you. Yeah, we will remain here.
Thank you. I request Mr. Prakash Kumar sir to propose the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries, आज मैं कुछ ज्यादा नहीं कहूँगा क्योंकि वोट ऑफ थैंक्स समय के पीछे चल रहे हैं थोड़ा, तो मैं सभी को मेरा बहुत बहुत थैंक्स, सभी को मेरे तरफ से जो है मैं सबका आभारी हूँ और संस्थान भी on the behalf of director and staff NEERI, thank you all. और इसी के साथ मैं वोट ऑफ थैंक्स समाप्त करूँगा क्योंकि बहुत कुछ कहने के लिए लेकिन नहीं भी है, लेकिन एक चीज कहूंगा जो आज दोनों हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में उन्होंने कही उसको मैं हाईलाइट करना चाहूंगा कि जो उन्होंने कहा कि सस्टेनेबिलिटी और क्लाइमेट चेंज दो अलग अलग चीजें हैं, लेकिन उन्होंने अप्रोच एक ही बताई जो टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से जाती है, चीजों पे रास्ता जाता है। और उन्होंने जो बताया कि बहुत बजटली हम बहुत ज्यादा सोचते हैं या करते हैं, लेकिन यदि हम पिन पॉइंट करके टारगेट जो रख के अगर हम करेंगे कोई चीज सफल होगी। दूसरे जो गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर है हमारे, उन्होंने जो चीज कही है कि R&D प्रोजेक्ट बहुत मेरे लिए रिलेवेंट है क्योंकि हम किसी भी एक्टिविटी की शुरुआत हम R&D मैनेजमेंट से करते हैं, R&D प्रोजेक्ट से करते हैं, और उसमें उन्होंने जो चीजें बताई है जो TRL लेवल है या उसका जो भी क्रिएशन है जो प्रोजेक्ट का, तो उसको पूरे एंड पॉइंट तक जो उसका आउटकम है उसको पूरा ध्यान में रखते हुए करेंगे तो हमको सफलता जरूर मिलेगी। मुझे लगता है कि आज के टेक्नोलॉजी के उनका जो संदेश था ये बहुत रिलेवेंट था। तो इसी के साथ मैं अभी बस आप सभी को जो है खड़े रहने के लिए प्रार्थना करता हूँ, अनुरोध करता हूँ कि हम राष्ट्रगान बजाएं।
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
थैंक यू। आप सभी से मैं अभी बैठने के लिए प्रार्थना करता हूँ, आप बैठ जाइए क्योंकि अगला कार्यक्रम बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। मैं डिग्निटरी से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ सर कि आप थोड़ा पहले डिग्निटरीज को आप जाने दीजिए।
ऐसी कोई बात
नहीं प्लीज, रिफ्रेशमेंट है, फिर मैं थोड़ा मुझे अनाउंसमेंट करना है क्योंकि चीजें है सिस्टमेटिक में।
थैंक यू। तो हमें गाली ना
Thank you.